And it's the ultimate sci-fi funeral. It's called Cryomation, and it involves being freeze-dried and then being demagnetized, and it's coming to a funeral parlor near you. Next up, meantime, here on SG, there's a new way to depart this mortal world. Instead of the usual choices of returning you whole or cremating, it gives a whole new meaning to the term chilling out. A different look at ashes to ashes, dust to dust, things that made news this last week. You know that old saying, it's kind of a cliche, but there's nothing definite in life except death and taxes. We're not going to help you a lot with the latter today, but we're going to talk a little bit about the former. You know, for all of us, when it comes time to depart this mortal world, we basically have two choices on our send-off. On the one hand, full burial. On the second hand, cremation. For certain personal and or religious reasons, one may supersede the other. Enter a third option that we're going to talk about on the show today. Joining us on the show today is Richard Maclean, the commercial director of the British company Cryomation. Richard,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
Cryomation, essentially, instead of incinerating or embalming, uses liquid nitrogen technology where you put people essentially into a deep freeze. It's just about as simple as that.
Yeah, put very simply, that's what it is. It's a replacement to traditional cremation. The body goes through a process of, it's bathed in liquid nitrogen, as is the coffin, and then it's compressed into a powder and freeze-dried, and all the moisture is removed, and what you're left with is a greener, more environmentally friendly remains, and there are no emissions at all in the whole process.
Right, no emissions, no burning, nothing,
none
right?
at all. Yeah. That's the issue in Europe right now, is the mercury emissions. So that was really what was behind it initially.
At what stage of the process are you? Is it actually commercially deployed technology right now?
No, it isn't right now. What we've done is we've actually gone through the last 5 years testing the process and actually getting complete sterility was one of our main goals. But the system's now been prototyped. It's been environmentally checked by independent organisations to verify claims, and we should hope to see commercial application by 2012.
What are the religious aspects of this, if any? Certain religions have certain rites and certain, obviously, rules of departure. Some require embalming and a full body burial. Cremation is an approved or even preferred route, presumably among others. Where does this fall into the whole argument, or the whole spectrum of this?
Well, we haven't got formal sort of feedback from the religious bodies at this stage, but I mean, in our view, cremation is particularly popular in a lot of religions, not necessarily in the Catholic religion. For theological reasons, we feel that ours is possibly closer to what Catholics are looking for with regards to the return of the body and so on, because what you're getting is more of the body back, less the moisture, of course.
Where would you expect the take-up of cryomation technology to be the most welcome? Where would you expect perhaps the epicenter to be, and then what would your key demographics be?
I guess it really depends on the drivers. I mean, because this sort of subject is so personal for a lot of people, for most people. If it's sort of on a government basis, it could well be land. I mean, land is a shortage in most regions of the world now, so there's a good solution as far as land sustainability is concerned. But also if it's to do with the ecological circle of life, for example, if that's more prevalent in some cultures, then our process ticks that box as well.
Would this be very expensive technology?
No, not really. We're talking about comparable prices of what you would see today in the market for cremation.
There's no environmental impact, like you talked about, because there's no emissions, you're not using flame or fire.
Absolutely
or
not.
anything like that. Your only byproduct is, I would believe, vapor.
Well, there are no emissions at all from the process. All effluent streams are clear. So it was important for us to achieve that, because any new process is going to be looked at very closely by the legislative organisations, quite rightly. So we made sure it's a complete sterility is what we've achieved, so no emissions at all.
We've, for generations, ever since time immemorial, we've sent off our ancestors, our loved ones, in pretty much the same manner. When you tell people the cryomation story, when you have to explain what it is and what the result is and everything, I mean, is there a shock factor that some people experience?
Well, there can be. It depends on really who you're talking to and what their interest is, and if they're supporting a special interest or not. But in general terms, anecdotally, if you like, there's a bit of a shock. But I mean, if you actually look at what goes into cremation itself, it shocked me. I mean, it's, you know, when you look at the cryomation process, how much the person do you get back?
What do you mean, how much of the person you get back? You mean it's adulterated by, you know,
not necessarily.
surrounding
Some of the older,
material?
crematorium, actually, you know, when you look at the manual intervention there is, it would surprise me. And then you look at things like cryomation, where the ashes are actually then milled, essentially. All of those things the public aren't aware of. So when you start to re-educate people about it, they'll see a big benefit in cryomation.
Right. This wouldn't be for people that are afraid of the cold, right? People living in hot climates.
Well, everybody deserves to chill out.
Chill out indeed. Richard, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
It was great talking. And that'll do it for this edition of Straight Talk. I'm Bernie Lowe in Hong Kong. As Richard said from Cryomation, chill out.